morning, everybody. Welcome to the cruise workshop session as a session 1 and 2. And the cruise session will be conducted in English as well. So if you need any simultaneous interpretation service, please use the receiver and set channel 1 for Korean, channel 2 for English, channel 3 for Japanese, and channel 4 for Chinese. The cruise workshop is held under the theme Design Asia Cruise Itinerary. So we'll discuss how to design the most efficient and appealing route based on the evolving global trends and consumer preferences. So this workshop features 2 presentations and each followed by a Q&A session. So we kindly invite all the participants to actively engage during the discussion. So the first presenter I'm going to present is Mr. Jerry Leong, our first speaker of the cruise workshop. Mr. Jerry Leong is a Senior Vice President of the Business Development and Shore Experience at StarDream Cruises. He brings over 15 years of management experience across the full spectrum of the cruise terminal, container, and cargo industry in Asia, Europe, and America. So please give a big round of applause to Mr. Jerry Leong.
Hi, good morning everyone. So without further ado, let me start today's sharing. Okay, today's agenda is basically we are going to share a bit on the designing the Asia cruise itinerary. But of course, before that, I think it's important to also share about our company, StarDream Cruises, which some of you might be familiar with, while others might be more foreign to it. So quickly, let me just introduce the cruise brands. So for our friends who knows Star Cruises and Dream Cruises, we shouldn't be foreign to you. With over 30 years of cruise itinerary planning, we have operated in Asia specifically since as early as 1993. Under the brand StarDream Cruises, we have 2 iconic brands, Star Cruises and Dream Cruises. Each of the differential is basically the product offering between both ships are slightly different, as well as the size of the ship, with the Star Cruises at about 70,000-80,000 gross tonnage, and Dream Cruise ships at 150,000 gross tonnage. Currently under the cruise brand, we have got 3 cruise ships, 2 under the Star Cruise brand and 1 under the Dream Cruise brand. The 2 Star Cruises brands are your Star Voyager and Star Navigator, and for the Dream Cruise brand, it's Genting Dream, which currently plies in Singapore, home port in Singapore, out of Singapore. So, I think the next part we have is a quick video introduction. I think the video speaks more than the slides itself. So it's a 1-minute video, so that will allow you to better understand what we offer and the cruise ships under the brand. Yeah, so that's a quick introduction of our ships as well as the places that we go to. Of course, in the subsequent slides, there will be more sharing on that as we cover the topic of itinerary planning. Yep, so I think what you see here is basically the ports that we currently operate in. What you see on the screen, you have the ones in green and the ones in red. The green ones are the ones that we home port at, and the red ones are those destination ports that we go to. Specifically, I think you would see 3 regions that we predominantly we are operating in or have operated in. So in Northeast Asia, you would see 3 key home ports that we operate out of, namely Hong Kong, Keelung, and Kaohsiung. And the destination ports, 12 ports of call, predominantly Japan and also Korea. Just to highlight a little bit more, the number of destination ports have increased, especially in the last couple of months because of the third ship, Star Voyager, joining our fleet. So I guess for those who have been here earlier, our first call into Jeju for one of our ships actually just came Jeju on the 8th of July. And subsequently, we will also be heading to Busan. So these are actually newly introduced destination ports that our cruise line has been going to. And continuously, we looked at new places to go to as well in this part of the world. Southeast Asia, obviously, you would see that the number of ports are many. Specifically, I mentioned just now, Genting Dream, which is our, under the Dream Cruise brand, operates out of Singapore while also carrying passengers or boarding passengers from various parts of Malaysia. And also this year, for our newly introduced ship, end of March, we have Star Voyager. So you will see the green color, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh, Jakarta. These are actually new home ports that we are also introducing, whereby we do a dual home port between Singapore and these places. Of course, these are areas or countries that we are nurturing in terms of the home porting. And from the destination ports, I guess you will not be foreign, from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, to the Philippines. These are the ones. Specifically, I think the Philippines ones are the ones that we just announced, and we will be going with our new ship, right? Also last year, we ventured out from the Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia region. We actually home ported, did our first home porting out from UAE, Dubai, heading over to Oman as well as Qatar. So that's a new market we are exploring with 1 whole port and 5 port of calls. Right, so I would say that we are probably the only cruise line with 3 cruise ships home ported year round in Asia. So that is what we pride ourselves on. So going straight into the topic of itinerary planning. So I think let me just summarize very quickly. I think there are 2 points or 2 areas that we look at. Basically, when we plan any itinerary, the demand and supply is what we look at. Demand is basically the passengers. You got to design an itinerary or a product that the passenger wants. So that is our first consideration when we look at itinerary planning. The second part I will say is the supply. The supply is more like the infrastructure, the policies, where the itinerary is it feasible from a business perspective, whether the supply is actually fits, is actually cruise friendly in that sense. So I think in my subsequent slides, these would be the 2 areas that I would give an introduction, a glimpse of it, and of course later on if there are questions, I'll be happy to take them. Right, so quickly I think understanding the passengers, which is on the demand side, that is a chart you would see. Obviously, since COVID, there is a change in the demographics or the demand of cruise tourism in Asia, right? So in 2019, prior to COVID, you would see that a large part of the source market is actually from China with 51% of the demand, right? At over 3 million passengers. And then of course, there was COVID, and post-COVID, of course, we saw recovery in 2020, 2023 and 2024, obviously. And obviously, when we started with StarDream cruises, predominantly we were home porting, and the source market was actually from Singapore and of course Malaysia plus India. In 2024, of course, China is leading in terms of the source market with a domestic revival, whereby in the Southeast Asia region, I guess Singapore and India remains the leading source market in this part of the world. And just to mention as well, South Korea has a positive rebound since 2021, surpassing its pre-COVID level. So having said that, with these key contributors of the source market, it means that obviously there is a demand for passengers sailing out from these places. But again, we'd like to emphasize that it doesn't mean that the other countries have not got passengers. I think it's also something that cruise lines will continue need to develop as they plan their itinerary or their product. Right. So for StarDream Cruises, or even for I'm sure other cruise lines as well, we got to look at the demographics of the passengers. The first three columns you see, I guess, are things that everyone would be focusing on. Whereby for the young professional, what are their interests? Short getaway entertainment, social media appeal, multi-generations, families, we target them, they go on the ship. There must be kids activities, dining, family-friendly amenities as well, and then thematics. For the retirees or the luxury travelers, spa, dining, enrichment programs that suits them. Usually, they might not be able to walk long distances, so the product, whether it's shore excursion or on the ship, has to be curated to some of this. But more importantly, I guess to continue to grow this cruise tourism in Asia, I guess the first-time cruises is also something that we really are looking at, because there's a good. It's important to draw this and groom, nurture the next generations of cruises, And of course, for these first-time cruises, as a first-timer, usually their preference is not for long cruises. They will want to do a 2 nights or a 3 nights, which is something that we plan for in our itineraries. So that is a. And of course, during when they travel, they will want to touch many points as possible. So that's also something that we take into consideration when we do itinerary planning. Right. I mentioned, so based on that, we have to understand the unique behaviors and patterns, whether it's from the country perspective, the duration perspective. So in itinerary planning, there are a lot of points that we got to consider before we decide on one. So specifically, since we are talking about Asia, I would say that our view is that for Asia, I think Asians, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, anything more than that might not be as preferred by Asians. So in terms of our itinerary planning, usually we think that the Asians would prefer the durations as such. Of course, for home port or port of call preferences, I guess you would be familiar. We have covered this in previous forums as well, I'm sure. Ease of visas, obtaining the visas, attractive activities, of course, Instagrammability, which is what I mentioned just now. Onboard priorities, of course, they would be keen, know what is on board. So for our cruise line, I think those who have sailed on our ship, we are very Asia-centric, or even when we are not in Asia. For example, last year when we were in Dubai, we converted the ship to full halal because of the demographics there, and we introduced or even decorated the ship that suits the local market. So these kind of things, we will need to make changes according to the market that we are operating in, right? So, and then from the cultural preference by country, which is also something that I just mentioned, we take note of. For the Indians, they would need to have vegetarian food. Usually they travel with big families, so whatever activity that we plan for has to be able to accommodate that. For Southeast Asia region, generally the market, they are very they are very price sensitive. So how we priced it is important, so that they can come to the ship. And of course, they like to do a lot of social media to let their friends know, that they're on the ship. So where we go has to have be able to offer this. And of course, from operating out from Taiwan, I think the Taiwanese generally loves to go to Japan. Predominantly, a lot of cruise lines, including us, especially in the we do a lot of Okinawa tours. But I think in the last year we have also explored new ports. I think this year Osaka, Wakayama, and like I mentioned just now, even Busan and Jeju are new port of calls that we call into this year. Right. So the second part, so that is the part on the demand. So we will look at all the demand requirements and then decide what are the areas that we can go. So after we know that there is a demand in these areas, what is next from the itinerary planning team is that we would need to then study, whether these places are cruise friendly, whether the ship can berth there, what is the setup of that place, whether it's suitable, or from a cost perspective, whether it's feasible, like I mentioned about cost effectiveness for the Southeast Asian market. So obviously, I guess this is something that everybody would be, will know. Of course, safety is the top priority. Everyone would know that in this part of Asia, you have the southeast monsoon and northeast monsoon and southwest monsoon. Winter months, there are certain areas whereby the sea is choppy and all. So prior to us deciding, we got to make sure that the ship can operate there safely, complies with the maritime regulations. We seek our captain's views on reaching the port safely at an optimal speed as well. Of course, the port infrastructures all has to meet the requirement. And then we have the rest of the factors that we look at from a supply point of view. Cruise infrastructure. So obviously for cruise ships, our cruise ships carry 2,000 odd for the Star Cruises brand. And then for the Dream Cruises, Genting Dream, we go up to more than 4,000 every cruise. So that is a big number compared to luxury cruises and also depending on the number of passengers when we evaluate whether we can go to the port. We will need to look at the infrastructure. The preference is obviously always to have the ship berth at the direct berth at the wharf, but obviously the smaller destination ports, many a times they would require tendering. So for a passenger count of 1,000, 2,000, the tendering operations would take a couple of hours. So that would take up port time that they have in the port. So when we look at the 4,000 or even more passengers, then where the cruise infrastructure come in, if it's not a direct berth port, it has to have good tendering facilities. The ship has got these tender boats, but it's important for destination ports in this case to have third-party vendors to support the tender operations, because that is the first experience. I was talking to some of our friends yesterday. I was saying, when we take a survey on shore excursions, it's very important. Sometimes actually the shore excursion is very good, but the first experience of coming down, if it takes very long, whether it's from immigration or from tendering, that sets the first expectations from the passengers. So if that is not good, whatever that comes next can't have a very good feedback. So that is something that we look very deeply into. Connectivity, network accessibility. Not other than the port, I think the other point is from the port to the attractions, whether the roads are wide enough to be operated by big buses, or they can only serve small vehicles or minibus. Because like I say, when the pax counts are high, and you can't have big 40-seaters, 60-seaters kind of buses, it takes a long time for people to get from place to place. So the connectivity of the port is also important. Also, if we are doing provisioning, and all those facilities have to be there. Government incentive, obviously, whether it's from the government or it's from the port itself, this would help, reduce the port costs. Like I say, price sensitive. So with these, I think the product itself will be more attractive to price sensitive passengers. Right, itinerary configuration. This part, allow me to explain a little bit. So itinerary configuration means when we plan, we have to calculate, the ship speed, the distance from port to port. And importantly is what time we arrive at that port. So example, if we calculate and the ship, this is a very good attraction, but the time that we can reach there is only, say, from 7 p.m. So and if we stay for 8 hours, or 9 hours, we leave at 3 a.m. But if that place has got no night activities, then there's no point in going there. So these are also considerations. So sometimes when we calculate by distance or by speed, we can reach that place. But we also have to look at the timing whereby we arrive at the port, whether that port has got activities at that time. Right, process authority clearance, I think we do not, I mentioned a little bit just now already. So shore excursion, obviously, it has to have things to do, whether it's for the young, for the old, or for families. So I mentioned in the demand part, of things just now. And last part, of course, the costing variables, business sense. It has to make sense because at the end of the day, the passengers are looking for, alternatives to air travel. So pricing is important to them. And from the cruise line perspective, if all the ports are charging too high or too much cost on visas and stuff like that, then the product itself will not be attractive. Right, this part is about sustainable cruise tourism. I would very quickly just run by. Of course, when we go and evaluate destination ports, we also look at sustaining our operations there. We do not want cruise passengers to be there and then the ship will be there only for like 2-3 calls and then we no longer go there. So the idea is, especially for new places or islands, we want to work on a longer term kind of visits to the destination itself. So whether it's from the economic, social, and environment portion, we look closely and examine the various factors to support sustainable cruise tourism. Right. So some highlights of our cruise brands. What we have. So one of the strategies we adopt is dual home porting strategies, which you can see in Genting Dream, Singapore, Malacca, KL, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, whereby we have home ports in two countries or 2 ports. For Star Voyager, we are doing it in Singapore, as you saw in the initial slides. We do dual home porting between Singapore, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, and Singapore, Thailand. Right. So that's something, a strategy that we adopt. Second is, of course, we have the 2 to 3 nights and the 5 nights round-trip cruises. For the 2 to 3 nights, like I mentioned, it's higher frequency, creating more cruising opportunities and repeats. And it's easy on a weekend when we do 2 nights. We have to cater to a group of people who doesn't want to take leave on a weekend. I mean, because weekend they don't need to take leave. So, and it's also a good draw for the first timer on the 2 nights and 3 nights, whereby they want to try out and to see whether subsequently they go for longer trips or duration trips. For 5 nights, of course, like I mentioned, we try to do more touch points. You will realize for our 5 nights, we do 3 ports in 5 nights with good timings as well into the port so that they can spend more time as well in the destination. So in a single voyage, so we, of course, in terms of the places we go to, I have already shared previously. Right. I think this is the last slide. So, of course, with that, there are still challenges that we need to continue to do better or improve. That I think first and foremost is the port infrastructure. Continue to work with the government closely to modernize port infrastructure. We see a lot of countries adopting humanless touch point from immigration perspective, and usually the speed has been reduced from a couple of minutes to seconds. So all these things are important because, like I mentioned, the speed, the faster we can clear all these immigration and formalities, the more time and the better the experience the passengers will have. Which is the second point I was talking about. And then thematic itineraries. So we have to also work very closely with the tourism collaboration because at the end of the day, there are only so many ports and so many permutations we can work with. So if you continuously going back to the same place over a course of a year, we will need variations even if the itinerary is the same. So with that, we work closely with, say, the tourism committee from the different countries. For example, in Japan, there will be periods. March, April, we have the Hanami viewing, so we will time some of our cruises to go in line with the occasions in these places. So I think these are things that as a cruise liners, when we do our itinerary planning, we will need to continue to look into closely and work with the respective stakeholders, to create the best product. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insightful presentation, Mr. Leong. Please remain on the stage because we have the Q&A session. Yes, please put your receiver on. Okay, we would like to open the floor to the participants. If you have any questions regarding Mr. Leong's presentation, please raise your hand. We're going to hand you the microphone. And the Q&A session is also translated in simultaneously, so please use your comfortable language only in Korean, English, Japanese, and Chinese. No Spanish, no French, no Russian, okay? Only 4 languages. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand regarding Mr. Leong's presentation. Okay, Asian. I have one question. Okay. So many Asian people are a little bit shy, as you know. So if I start first, they will come after me.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So I heard very insightful presentation of yours, and I was focusing on your journey to find the new generations of the travelers. And I heard that only 1%, less than 1% in the population have experienced the cruise. So I was wondering, why is it so difficult for people to experience the cruise in the first place? And if you have any, do you have any specific strategies to enjoy the new generations?
Yeah, good question. So I think why 1%, probably if you look at the age profile, I think yesterday someone's presentation was sharing about the median age or average age is about 45. And so I think the challenge for attracting new cruisers is actually, I would say, is the alternative these days compared to, say, 20 years ago is so much more. Air travel is so much more affordable. Connectivity is so much better. And I would say whether it's the young or old, they are spoiled for choices. I mean, if I looked at, going to this place, I would first compare. For example, now, if I'm a Taiwanese and I want to go to Japan, I will look at how much the cruise is costing me and yes, how much is the flight. And you would see that even from the airline perspective, all these it's very competitive. So prices are there. So that's why from the designing of the cruise product portion, we need to tell them that this is not only a transfer from you to bring you from, say, Taiwan or the home port to that place. What is on the ship? What do you get there? And also, several places that we go to, this is more to the second part of the question. Then how do we address this competitiveness to continue to grow these new cruises? Like I mentioned, then the other part is some of these ports that we go to, when we select, one of the things is we will see whether how easy or how difficult it is for normal passengers to go there, right? In the past, for example, we have went to North Bali, I think Selukan Bawang. So even if you were to take a flight to Bali, you would need to take a transport that is about 3 hours. So places like that, the selling point would be that you can't go to these places without if you go by the plane, it's still going to take you much longer and a tough journey because the road conditions are also not the best, right? So I think these are the things that from a cruise line perspective when we do product design. So places like that obviously would have a draw, but again the challenge would be whether these places have the necessary infrastructure to facilitate our operations. In terms of growing the market, obviously the way marketing is being done now, whether it's from the cruise line perspective or from other businesses, you will realize that all the cruise brands, ports, or what's not, we engage a lot on the influencers, KOLs. We do fam trips so that they share. So that would have a better reach to the younger population. And it's important to continue to have all these growth to sustain this demand in the long term because of the many products that is out in the market from air to sea. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your insightful answer. So is there any other questions? Yes, please.
Please don't ask me to make how the pig sound or like how the squid sound.
Inside joke. Okay, thank you. Just wondering, as oil prices come down, how does that affect your itinerary planning? Are you all still very concerned? Do you try to keep slow steaming under 16 knots, or Or do you feel like, oh, okay, now that if it goes under 60 US dollars a barrel, then, we'll go 22, 23 knots and we can cover more ground? Or is it still an important factor?
Yeah, I think whether or not the oil prices go up or down, in terms of our planning, of course, from a cost perspective, we would want to run at as low speed as possible. But if you ask me whether between giving the achieving what we want to do, giving the best experience we think is necessary for the passenger to sustain this brand and this product, I think that will still supersede, the speed planning. Of course, we are not trying to run the ship continuously on above 20 knots or that. But again, when there's a need to, then obviously we will still choose that route of even if it means a higher cost. So I think from our perspective, it's important to still do for example, the 5 nights as much as possible, do the 3 ports. Of course, if the ports are very far away, then we can't do that, then we might adjust. So I would say our itinerary is a mix of ship running at higher speed as well as as and when we can, we will always try and lower the speed from a cost perspective still. So it's important to balance both. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Is there any questions regarding the presentation? Yes, here, sir.
Good morning. I am a CEO of Vladivostok Sea Terminal, and please explain if there are some plans to make home porting operations for Korean market, maybe from Busan, and also will you plan to return your ships for home porting in northeastern China? Thank you.
So first, 2 questions. I think the first, just to make sure I got it right, the first one is whether we have plans to home port in Busan, in Korea, right? And the second one is to home port in China, right?
마이크를 다시 주시겠습니까?
I mean, northeastern China ports like Qingdao or Tianjin.
Yeah, I think we are definitely open to new home ports. But like we mentioned, currently we have got 3 ships. Obviously, we hope to have more cruise ships in the coming years, or But I think some of these discussions, whether it's with Korea or Japan, we have had them about doing home porting. And I think one strategy that we mentioned about dual home porting is a way that we can do it with the current 3 ships we have. Because obviously the current home ports that we operate in, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, right? We have a demand, a good source market there. So how we intend to do that, which we have done with Thailand and Vietnam and Jakarta, Indonesia, it's this dual home porting possibility. So that is being done. China is something that, I mean, we have operated out from China, I mean Shanghai and what's not previously. But I think there's some, currently China has plans to do a reset with consolidation of the cruise ships. And so I think it's something that we are looking and monitoring closely. And when the right opportunity comes in, we will definitely be there to consider home porting out from China as well. Yeah.
Okay, is there any questions left? Okay, this ends up our presentation. Please give Mr. Leong a big round of applause. And thank you very much, sir, to participating in the Q&A sessions. Okay, now we are moving to the second speaker. He is Mr. Eisuke Murata to the stage. Mr. Murata is the manager of the Shore Excursion division at Japanet Tourism, and he has been the Japanet Tourism since 2007, previously overseeing luxury cruise quality and operational strategies. So with a wealth of experience and expertise in the cruise tourism sector, Mr. Murata continues to play a key role in enhancing the shore excursion services and overall cruise travel experiences. So please give Mr. Murata a big round of applause.
Good morning、在下好、おはようございます。ここからは、日本語でさせていただきます。この度は、講演の機会をいただきありがとうございます。それでは、ジャパネットツーリズムによる顧客の心に残る寄港地体験とは、ジャパネットクルーズのこだわりというタイトルで講演を始めさせていただきます。私はジャパネットツーリズムで寄港地観光の責任者をしております村田と申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。まずはじめに私の簡単な自己紹介をさせていただきます。私は2007年にジャパネットへ新卒で入社し、その後ホールディングスやコールセンターなどさまざまな部署で業務を行い、2023年よりクルーズに関わる業務に携わり、昨年からは寄港地観光の責任者を務めております。ジャパネットは主に通信販売事業、スポーツ地域創生事業からなる全16のグループ会社から構成されています。通信販売事業では、販売から注文受付、商品発送、アフターフォローまでを一貫して行っています。スポーツ地域創生事業では、サッカー、バスケットボールのクラブチームをグループ会社として運営しているのではなく、2024年10月には、スタジアム、アリーナ、商業施設、ホテル、オフィスが一体となった長崎スタジアムシティを開業し運営しています。また、BS 放送という放送衛星を利用したテレビ放送にも参入し、通販番組だけでなく、スポーツや旅番組などの放送を行っています。そして、私たちのクルーズ事業はここ、トラベルカンパニーの中のジャパネットツーリズムになります。次に、2024年のジャパネットグループ連結売上高は2725億円になります。そして、クルーズ事業の売上は、その中の約 10% に当たります約200億円になります。これまでのジャパネットクルーズ事業の歩みとしては、2018年に MSC スプレンディダのチャータークルーズを初めて行い、コロナ禍に一時的にクルーズを中断しておりましたが、2023年からチャータークルーズを再開し、昨年までに約10万人のお客様にご乗船いただいております。また、昨年2024年からは、ラグジュアリー船のチャータークルーズ、今年からはフライ&クルーズとして、地中海クルーズの販売も開始して、こちらも大きく販売を伸ばしております。これらを支えているのは、ジャパネットクルーズのプロモーション、つまりお客様への媒体の展開方法にあります。日本の一般的な旅行は、お客様が自ら店舗やインターネットを訪ねて、契約する形になりますが、私たちのクルーズ事業は、テレビショッピング、カタログやハガキなどの紙媒体、そしてインターネットなどさまざまなチャンネルを通してプロモーションを行い、お客様へアプローチを行っています。このようなプロモーション展開を行っているため、ご参加の約 80% のお客様がクルーズ船のご乗船が初めてになります。また、ジャパネットクルーズは基本的に10日以上のクルーズ旅行となりますので、約 75% のお客様が60から79歳と時間に余裕がある主な顧客層になっています。合わせてジャパネットクルーズでは、主に日本のテレビ、紙、インターネットでの販売となりますので、98% のお客様が日本人になります。また、約 2% の日本国籍以外のお客様も、日本の文化やマナーなどを十分に理解されたお客様が乗船されています。そして、ジャパネットは2024年秋のクルーズにおけるお客様満足度の最高が 97% を評価をいただくことができました。ちなみに今年の春の3週につきましては、最高満足度は 98% になります。合わせて2023年には、日本で販売されたクルーズ商品の中で、オリジナリティあふれるもの、かつ日本のクルーズマーケット拡大に貢献した際に評される、クルーズ・オブ・ザ・イヤー2023のグランプリを受賞させていただくことができました。これらの評価をいただいている背景には、ジャパネットのクルーズのこだわりがございます。はじめに寄港地の入出港時間をコントロールして、朝入港、夕方出港にこだわり、滞在時間を確保することで、観光時間も分散させて、よりお客様へ寄港地を楽しんでいただくことができます。 次に入出港時間の十分確保することで、充実したオプショナルツアーによる広域周遊が実現できます。つまり、どうしても中心地に寄りがちなツアーも広域に拡大するということになります。3番目は無料の循環バスの運行です。各寄港地でお客様が無料で乗車できる循環バス、こちらが一般的に言うシャトルバスになりますが、こちらも運行しています。こちらは大体ですね、年間約2000台、費用にして約4億円の費用はジャパネットで負担しております。これらはクルーズ船をチャーターすることで実現ができる取り組みでもあります。まずはじめに、寄港地に関する話を始める前に、この図をご覧ください。日本では三方よしという言葉があります。これは売り手よし、買い手よし、世間よしという三者が満足する状態のことで、自社の利益だけでなく、お客様の満足、社会全体の幸福を追求する考えであります。クルーズは一部の業者しか儲からないという考えから、ジャパネットクルーズでは港をハブにしながら、寄港地の方と連携して、観光、買い物、そして広域周遊として西にも東にも行く、またオプショナルツアーだけでなく、無料循環バス、港での物販などを通じて、一人でも多くのお客様へ寄港地に降りていただき、地元にお金が落ちる仕組みを作り、地元の経済効果を高めるのがジャパネットのビジネスモデルと思っています。また、この中の寄港地の中っていうことですが、これは事業者様、店舗様、そして自治体の皆様など、ジャパネットクルーズの寄港に関わる寄港地のすべての方のことを指します。そして、私たちのクルーズにまた乗ってみたいだけではなく、例えばチェジュ島であれば最高の黒豚、そしてソンサンイルチュルボンのハイキングなど思い出を胸に、今度はご家族とお孫さんと、またご友人とチェジュ島へ行きたいと思っていただけるようなクルーズ旅をご提供していくことが私たちの使命だと考えています。先ほどもご案内させていただきましたが、各寄港地で運航しているジャパネットの循環バスですが、これはジャパネットクルーズの中でも目玉の一つとなっています。無料の循環バスではありますが、観光スポット、お土産が購入できるなど、無料でも寄港地の魅力を十分に感じていただける場所を停留所として設定しています。また、チェジュ島の一つには、チェジュの三大滝の一つ、チョンジオンポッポを停留所として設定しています。ここは、チェジュの方のご協力もあり、クルーズカード提示で入場料が無料になるなど、単純に循環バスを走らせるだけでなく、中身まで地元の方とこだわって循環バスを成立させていきます。次は寄港地のこだわりについてです。ここでは一つ一つの内容を掘り下げていくというよりも、ジャパネットのお客様がほぼ日本人のため、どの点にこだわってツアーを作っているのかをご説明させていただきます。当社ではこの3点のこだわりがあります。まずはじめに、ここでしかできない寄港地ならではの体験です。チェジュ島を例に出すと、世界遺産のソンサンイルチュルボンのハイキング、本場の黒豚カルビを堪能するなど、世界遺産を際立たせることや、黒豚カルビなど、その土地の伝統料理などを体験することによって、海外での体験をより濃い思い出にしていただくことができます。また、特別感ということでは、日本では体験できないナンタをジャパネットが貸し切って特別に講演をしていただいたり、アジア最大級のヨットで貸し切りクルーズを体験することも行っています。これは単にナンタを見ていただくというのではなく、あえて貸し切りにすることで、海外に来てもお客様が私たちのためだけに講演を行ってもらえるという特別感があります。そしてヨットの貸し切りは貸し切りという特別感だけでなく、日本ではなかなか体験できないヨットに海女さんが乗船して、海女さんが潜ってアワビを振る舞ってもらえるということに特別感を感じていただきます。日本では先日バイキングエデンのチャータークルーズを受けまして、長崎の諏訪神社を貸し切って伝統の祭りを再現したツアーを実施し、お客様より反響いただいております。これはその土地でしかできない特別感でプレミアムな体験になります。私たちはツアーを作る上で2つのプレミアムを意識しています。1つのプレミアムは価格高価な体験です。これは地元のハイグレードのホテルでの食事や少人数で特別な体験をするということになります。2つ目のプレミアムは 日本では体験できないプレミアムです。先ほどのヨットのような、ヨットクルーズなどがそれに値します。海鮮を地元の方が振る舞う、その中で生まれる、現地の方とのコミュニケーション、そういった地元の方とのコミュニケーションを通じて寄港地体験を体験していただきます。地元の方とのコミュニケーションは値段では測れない本当にプレミアムな体験だと考えています。次は日本人がちゃんと楽しめる取り組みです。例えばチェジュ島でいうとこの2点になります。左はアワビの盛り合わせになります。日本の食事は一人一人分けて提供されることがほとんどですが、海外は大きなお皿などに盛られてくることがあります。大皿の場合、日本人はどこまで食べていいか、何個食べていいかなどを気にしてしまい、戸惑ってしまうこともあります。そこで、この写真のように、アワビの盛り合わせの場合は、緑のですね、この草のようなものなんですけれども、こちらで分けたりとか、あとレモンなどで4等分に分けて、1人分を明確にしています。そして右側はこちらですね、海鮮鍋になります。本場韓国の海鮮鍋は日本人には少し辛いと感じることが多くあります。そのため、ツアーに盛り込む全店舗において私たちが検食を行い、お店の味を尊重しながらも辛さを調整していただきます。実は私が検食を行っているんですが、私がすごく辛さが苦手なので、私を中心に味を調整しています。また、辛さを増したいというお客様のために、別皿で調味料を配置して、お客様が自ら調整を行うこともできるようにしています。このような臨機応変に対応することも大切なことです。3つ目、これが結構重要なことなんですけれども、悪い場合は次の週までに改善することです。ジャパネットではツアーごと、そしてバスごとにアンケートを実施しています。アンケート結果は即日集計し、現地の事業者様へすぐに連携して原因の追及を行っています。そして次週のクルーズまでに可能な限りの調整を行って、食事や施設の変更を行います。もし改善が難しいということであれば、お店の変更なども行っています。ツアーはですね、新しいものを作り続けるということももちろん大切なんですが、私たちが大切にしていることは、今のツアーをもっとお客様が満足いただけるツアーに磨き続けることも一つだと思っています。そうすることで、お客様だけでなく、店舗の品質も上がり、結果、みんなが、ウィンウィンの状態になると考えています。今回、ジャパネットクルーズの取り組みを中心に講演をさせていただきました。どの取り組みにも共通することが、寄港地の方とジャパネットが連携してお客様にもご満足いただき、このジャパネットクルーズを成功させているということになります。最後になりますが、チェジュ島には今年だけでベリッシマ、バイキングエデンの船をフルチャーターして合計9回寄港させていただく予定です。チェジュ島への寄港を実現し、何よりもお客様からご満足いただいている背景には、チェジュ島の皆様のご協力があるからこそだと考えています。また本日は台湾や日本の各寄港地の皆様までお越しということで、皆様にもご協力いただいています。この場を借りて御礼申し上げます。ありがとうございます。また、こちらのですね、取り組みなんですけど、QR なんですけれども、もし私たちの取り組み、ジャパネットの取り組みが分かるようになっていますので、もしよろしければ、後で結構ですので、アクセスいただければと思います。これでジャパネットクルーズの講演を終わらせていただきます。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Eisuke Murata, for your wonderful speech. Yes, please set your receiver on. And if there is any questions, please raise your hand. We're going to hand you the microphone about the presentation that our Mr. Eisuke Murata has given us. Is there any questions? Okay, let me just ask you a questions about the presentation. I saw a lot of contents about Jeju. Was it specifically for this Asia Cruise Forum Jeju, or is Jeju your the top pioneering or top purpose of your cruise?
そうですね、私たちが考えるのは、チェジュ島というのは、オーバーツーリズムにまだなっていないっていうところもありますし、何よりもやはり東京とか、あと関東圏だけではなくて、やっぱ日本のお客様がチェジュ島にもっと現地の方と触れ合いを大切にするには、一番の韓国の中でも、チェジュ島では大きなところだなというふうに感じています。
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions about this presentation? Okay, so this was the wrap up for the presentation. So please give Mr. Eisuke Murata a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you everyone for participating and engaging in Q&A sessions. So this concludes the cruise workshop sessions of the 2025 Asia Cruise Forum Jeju. I hope this session has been fruitful time for all the participants. Also, this has been your announcer Boran Shan, and thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.